But let me mention another clinical trial that we did, a small clinical trial, which I was involved a bit. It is post-trauma.
Right.
We did a small trial on post-trauma patients. We had about 10 patients or 12 patients that had different types of post-trauma. A few were soldiers, a few were women that had been raped, a few were people that were involved in traffic accidents. I mean, a different.
Sure.
And we found that it most definitely, THC in small doses, definitely helps, statistically shown that it helps these people, at least in some of the effects of post-trauma, like sleep.
Yeah.
These people are afraid to go to sleep because they wake up in the middle of the night and then they get whatever happened to them again. So they're afraid to go to sleep. Well, they can go to sleep much better than without the drug. But there are quite a few other that have diseases in animal models that have been tried very successfully. And for example, diabetes type 1. Now diabetes, this type of diabetes, the body attacks the cells that produce insulin.
Yeah.
Now, why the hell the body should do that, I have no idea. But it does it.
Yeah.
And then that happens.
Quite often in children it starts.
It starts with children. And diabetes type 1 is supposedly a pediatric disease.
Yeah.
It starts with children. So we did work with animals, with mice, that all had genetically that kind of disease.
Right.
They had diabetes type 1 that appears after 3 months or something like that. So we took and gave these animals cannabidiol at high doses, and only 30% of these mice got diabetes type 1 compared to 80 or 100% of animals that got it without cannabidiol. So as here we have the same mechanism as in human patients, then why not try it? It's the same mechanism, it's the same compound, it's something that is not toxic. We should try it. We need new drugs for diabetes type 1.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things of this sort that one can go ahead and think in rheumatoid arthritis, another autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
We showed with a group in the UK, actually, in mice, that it most definitely acts. It's not simple because we see that a certain dose it acts, then if we give more, it stops acting. It's called scientifically a biphasic effect. But it can be done, and new drugs are needed for rheumatoid arthritis, and the number of people suffering from rheumatoid arthritis is fantastic.
Sure. Yeah.
And so we can go on with other things.
Is it fair to say that if somebody came along today and said, I have discovered a new plant, it's called yaba. This yaba, you can't smoke it, it's got no illegal part, but you get wonderful drugs from it, the whole attitude towards the chemicals would be different. And to a certain extent, we're looking at cannabis wrongly because of the illegality.
Well, you're perfectly right. But it has been changing slowly.
Yeah.
Now people realize that some diseases can be helped, especially if we look at individual components of the system, not take the whole thing and say cannabis, medical cannabis will help you. I don't know what is medical cannabis.
Yeah.
It's a mixture. It can be a lot of one thing, first time, a lot of things another time. There was a case of a mother that came to me and said, look, I have a child that has epilepsy, and I was given a bottle of contained a lot of cannabidiol, and it worked. Then the second time, when I finished that bottle, I got the same bottle from the same company, and I gave it to my kid, and she got all her attacks again. So I analyzed the two bottles, or the contents of the two bottles, and indeed one had a lot of cannabidiol, and the other had nothing. Now, that's not the way to administer drugs. And that's one of the reasons physicians are unhappy with the situation, because they don't know what they're administering exactly.
Right.
It should be regulated. It's not such a complicated matter. It should be well regulated so that a patient or the physician and the physician should know what they are giving to the patient.
Yeah.
Neither the patient nor the physicians are happy when they have to give something with a lot of question marks.
Sure.